This is a triumph of basic science.
We don't normally expect to see response rates like we're seeing in these trials.
I'm starting to think that, maybe there's something going on in my body that's good. I was first diagnosed with lung cancer in April of 2008. I initially thought my world ended, and it took maybe less than a day, and I decided that I'm not going to die of lung cancer. I'm going to fight it to the end. I had 2 surgeries, 2 rounds of radiation, 2 clinical trials of chemotherapy over about a 3-year period. They worked well enough to keep me alive, and that's all I could ask. I was turned over to Dr. Bramer for care, and she had this investigative study going on, and she asked if I would be interested, and if I qualified, would I do it? And I said, of course, I'll try anything.
We're reporting on the results of 2 clinical trials, 2 separate trials, one in which we used a blocking antibody against PD-1, and the other in which we used a blocking antibody against PD-L1, which is expressed on tumor cells.
These 2 different antibodies, one is a programmed death 1 antibody, and that receptor is on a T cell. The PD-1 antibody is actually blocking the receptor on the T cell. The programmed death ligand 1 antibody is an antibody to the ligand that is typically on a cancer cell. So these 2 different antibodies block the ligand on the tumor cell, and the PD-1 antibody blocks the receptor on the T cell, preventing the receptor and the ligand from coupling together.
Tumors can co-opt PD-1 to their own advantage, to fly below the radar of the immune system. And so by using a blocking agent against PD-1, we can interrupt that shield that's protecting the tumor from immune destruction.
Taking this trial for 15 months now, the side effects have been minimal. Overall, I feel, I can almost say wonderful.
There is absolutely no question that this is by far and away the most exciting time for our field. This is an inflection point in which we're beginning to see very, very slow progress really accelerate.
We enrolled patients who had been previously treated for the most part. That basically means either those patients had to have had at least 1 prior cancer treatment for their advanced disease, and their disease was actually getting worse, and so that's why they went on to these trials. Or some of these patients actually had several different lines of therapies.
The fatigue, for the most part, only lasts for the day after I get the chemo. And after that, I start to come back up again, and then I'll spend my time where I'm a little bit tired, but not bedridden like I was on some of those chemos.
We observed in the anti-PD-1 trial response rates which were very favorable. By response rate, I mean patients with either a complete disappearance of all tumor on CAT scans and physical examination, or more than a 30% decrease in the sum of the diameters of their tumors. Very notable is the fact that these responses were durable. So in patients who were followed for more than a year, in that group of patients, 2/3 of them have continuing responses. This is very unusual for oncology drugs. At the same time, we saw the same kinds of tumors responding to anti-PD-L1.
No one ever imagined that lung cancer would be immunologically responsive, and it clearly is. So this says that potentially every cancer type, if we can understand how these cancers put up their barriers, will be able to be treated by these kinds of immunotherapies.
We have every indication that combining these drugs with other anti-cancer agents will provide a much stronger impact than just using the antibody by itself. And this will be a major area of clinical exploration.
We know that there are other molecules and pathways that are probably operative in some cancers and may dominate over the PD-1 pathway. These are all druggable. We can make antibodies and other recombinant reagents that can block these pathways or activate the activating pathways. And so we're just scratching the surface in terms of what we can do.
Maybe I'm going to be around for a long time. I might never be cured of cancer, right? But maybe this drug will just keep it so it doesn't bring my expiration date anytime soon.